Okay, Michelle, I've got your work up here, and everything at the surface looks great. But we've got a couple of issues in the file. Now, I know I mentioned this last week, but this is kind of a major issue. Let me show you what I'm talking about. If I come over here and I go to across the top of well, you can't see this with the way my screen is set, but if you go across the menu across the top of the screen next to Photoshop and read across and go to where it says image, and then come down where it says image size. And right here it says you're at 12 by 15 at 500 resolution. So that is just enormous. And that's why your file size is so big. This should be 8 by 10 at 300. And for print, anything that you're printing, 300 is really the max you ever want to go. You're never going to see the difference between a 500 resolution file and a 300 resolution file. The human eye just can't detect those differences. So it's just overkill, and all it does really is bloat your file size to enormous. So right now your image size is at, I think it's at, boy, it's like 469 megabytes. It's enormous. Yeah, right here. See, oh, actually 448. I'm getting different readings in different areas. It's definitely over 400 megabytes. So that's just really, really enormous. So definitely want to recompose this at 8 by 10 at 300 ppi. The next issue, now I can show you a lot of things that we can do right here in this file, but I definitely need you to recompose this to get all the points that I mean, you're showing proficiency. The only thing you're not showing proficiency is this understanding of resolution. So definitely want to recompose this at 8 by 10, 300 ppi. Another thing I want to mention is if I come into my zoom tool here, and we looked at your images, and all of the, see how crisp and clear all of these are? Everything looks great. Then we go to your background image, and look how fuzzy and blurry and distorted everything is, especially when we compare it next to your nice high resolution images. And the problem is that this started out as a 72 ppi file, so it's not working per se. So you need to find a high resolution image for your background. Now, if you go over to the course, in the learning path, right down here in course resources, I've got a bunch of resources here. I have one here, high resolution image links you can use for your course project, and you can come and take a look at all of these. Some of these don't open, you have to copy and paste these into your browser window, but here's a bunch of free image sources that you can use to find high resolution images. And the way to check, as I said, is just go open it in Photoshop, go across the menu across the top, go to image size, and then check right here for, you're looking for 300 ppi. Okay. Now the other thing that I want to mention is this. Let's go back here and take a look at the image. Now everything looks good. Excuse me. There's a couple of techniques that we can do here that will show some interesting things. And hang on one second. I want to set something up so I can do some demonstrations. I'll be right back. Okay. So anyways, what I wanted to show you is this: we can do a couple of adjustments right here in adjustment layers in the actual. Right in the file using adjustment layers and clipping them to the associated layer. So let me show you what I mean. Okay, so let's go to the watering can. Now the watering can is a little dark. I think everything looks great, but oh, by the way, the shadow looks fantastic. Good job there. The watering can. So let's go to the watering can. I'm just going to command click on the watering can. It'll bring up the body. It's called body. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to come down here to my adjustment layer, and I'm just going to create a levels adjustment layer, just because that's the easiest to show. Now, don't forget, if I adjust this layer right here, it's going to affect all the layers below it. And I don't want to do that. I just want to affect the watering can. So let me right-click that, create a clipping mask, clip that to the watering can layer. Then I can bring my properties over, and we can lighten up that watering can. And see how much nicer it looks. We can do the same thing on several different areas. I think the shovel itself is a little too dark, but I want to show you another technique. It's a really cool technique. So let's come down to the shovel. I'm going to just click that, command click that, so we get to the shovel layer. There it is right there. Okay, so what I want to do is I think the wood part is just fine. So I want to select just the blade, the black part, and I want to do an adjustment layer just on the black part. So let's come in here. And what I want to do is let's just go right ahead and select that by saying, let's come to our selection tool right here. And let's just select that area right there. Okay, and then what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to create a new layer out of that selection. And I do so by saying Command J. I say Command J, and we'll just say this is the shovel blade. Okay, at that point, let me just zoom back out, and on the shovel blade layer, I'm just going to come down here. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to create an adjustment layer. Let me get rid of that swatches because that's a distracting way. So it's paths. So we're just going to come down here, and I'm going to say create new adjustment layer. And again, I'll do levels because it's the easiest to show. And then with that, I'm just going to come over here, and I want to lighten up that. Oh, I did something bad. I didn't clip that to the layer. So remember, right click, create clipping mask. Now I can come over here and just lighten up that part of the blade so we can see that. Now we can do the same thing over here with this part, and we can do, excuse me, we can do the same thing in all sorts of areas. Let's try it over here. Let's go ahead and select that area right there. There's the layer. Okay, so in that layer right there, we'll come right over here to our selection tool. We'll start selecting the, it looks like we have some areas that need to be adjusted. So let's just get rid of those. Good, let's get rid of that and make that a nicer selection. There we go. Okay, you know, I don't like the way that selection looks, so I'm going to deselect that, Command D, and let's do that again. Sorry about that. All right, so that looks pretty good, right? You can hear my little dogs in the background. Sorry about that. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So what we're going to do there is we'll take that and we'll create a new layer out of it, Command J. Okay, so there's a new layer. And with that layer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just create a new adjustment layer and then clip that, right? Now in our properties, we can just go ahead and adjust that portion. And see how much nicer that comes out than being real dark like that. You get to see some details. So we can do that. Now, one final thing I want to show you is this. I want to show you how we can take parts of this image and create little eyeballs for the background. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to go to the background layer itself right there. And I'm going to select some of that background layer. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to create these little flowers right here. I'm just going to select that little flower right there, see if I can't use that for the background of the eyeball. Actually, let's use this one right here. I think this one's pretty good. So what I'm going to do is to try to select that, I'm just going to go to my quick selection tool right here. Select that, go to my paintbrush, and I just want to paint that guy right there. And now you remember what happens with quick selection, right? Whatever we paint turns into a selection. So I want to paint that flower right there. Get that all selected. Now when I come out of quick select, you can see that that's selected. But if I Command 0, you can see that this is all selected too. So what I need to do is inverse that selection by going across the menu at the top of the screen, saying select, coming down here and saying inverse. And, excuse me, what I would do then is Command J, take my move tool, and there, see that little flower right there? That's what I just created. So I want to take that layer and take it all the way up to the top. So it's on the top, especially on top of the eyes. I can take that and I move it right there, but I can't see the pupil. So let's take that and move it below. And there's the little pupil. So let's zoom in. And let's move that guy. And move that guy right there. Whoops. Okay, now I can take that layer right there and duplicate it. And we take that guy, move it here. Make sure that's below the eyes layer. And then we can Command 0 and see we got these nice little backgrounds, these little pupils for the eyes. Just a nice little addition there. So I just wanted to show you those techniques, a couple additional things you can do. My main, excuse me, sorry, I've been talking all day long, I'm getting hoarse. My main concern is that, yeah, I'd like you to try a couple of these adjustment layers, clipping them to the layer that you want to adjust. And then also the main thing is showing resolution. So 8 by 10 at 300 PPI, and don't forget, this has to be a high resolution image right here. So this, don't forget, I showed you how to check that. Go to image, image size, make sure it says 300 for your background image. Okay, all right, so those would be my recommendations. I'd love to see you try these. I'd love to see you try these before your final submission, just to make sure, just so I know that you've got the techniques down and I can help you if you run into any trouble. Let me know if you have any trouble at all. But other than that, I think you're showing really good proficiency. Okay, good job. Thanks.